I'm in Greek from the Septuagint. You can find the ideas of the writers 3,000 years ago almost, 2,500 years ago, and the ideas that they had from the Hebrew. Let's go on number 32. We had Jacob wrestling with God. All right. What did we call this? What happened there with Jacob when he was wrestling with God? It talked about the angel of the Lord, the angel of Jehovah. All right. Who was the angel of Jehovah? Who is he? Who is the angel of Jehovah?
The angel?
The angel of his face, it's also called.
Not an angel, the angel.
The angel of Jehovah. It is Jehovah.
Jesus.
It is what we call the pre-incarnate Christ that wrestled with Jacob. And also that's the pre-incarnate Christ that walked with Adam in the garden. Same one. Same one. This is God. All right? God. Now in Genesis 32, go to Genesis chapter 32. All right? And what was promised Jacob after the night of wrestling because of his persistence? What was promised to him? What's the answer to that? What was promised to Jacob? What did God do to Jacob?
He promised him the same covenant he gave to Abraham, didn't he?
All right. He confirmed the covenant, but he gave him something different.
Blessing.
He gave him a blessing, but he gave him a new name.
Yeah.
A new name. All right. What does Jacob mean? Trickster. All right. One who tricks, or a trickster, or someone that's always trying to get advantage. Okay? To get the advantage. And then he gave him a new name. And what was the new name?
Israel.
Israel. All right. Oh, all right. Israel. You shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel, for a prince. You have power with God and with men, and have prevailed. That's what the whole story was. All right. He called him Israel. What does Israel mean?
Prince.
Preserved or
All right. It means man of God, or prince of God. All right. Man of God, or prince of God. And then the name of the place was called El Penaim. El Penaim. All right. He named the place El Penaim. And then what? Verse number 3. What plan did Jacob devise to keep his brother Esau from killing him? He divided his company, and we talked about that last week. Let's go back to Genesis 32 and verse 27, though. Genesis 32 and verse 27.
Yeah.
Are you there, Wally?
Yep.
Oh, all right.
And he said unto him, What is thy name? And he said, Jacob. And he said, Thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel, for as a prince hast thou power with God and with men, and hast prevailed.
All right. And have prevailed. And then go on down further, brother. Just keep on reading.
Okay. And Jacob asked him and said, Tell me, I pray thee, thy name. And he said, Wherefore is it that thou dost ask after my name? And he blessed him there. And Jacob called the name of the place Peninnah, for I have seen God face to face, and my life is preserved.
All right. El Penaim. All right. Penay means face. All right. The face of God is what he saw. The face of God. Literally said the face of gods. Of Elohim. What does the word Elohim mean? At the end of that Elohim, what is that?
Plural.
Where's my Hebrew boy? There he is,
Plural.
right there, brother. What?
Plural.
Plural.
3 or more.
Plural. All right? It's 3 or more. It's not singular, it's not dual, but it's plural. And here we have El Penaim. So what did he see? He saw the face of the gods, the Creator. He saw the face of the Creator. The one who created the heavens and the earth. And he wrestled with this Creator. I don't think Jacob knew everything about the gospel yet. What is the gospel? What is the gospel? Where would you find an explanation of the gospel in the New Testament? Where would it be found?
1 Corinthians 15.
1 Corinthians, the 15th chapter, it said that Jesus Christ came according to the Old Testament Scriptures. Now we find out also that God preached the gospel to Abraham. We find out in the New Testament that God told Abraham of the gospel, and that he told Abraham that through his seed would all nations be blessed. And Abraham, when he took that son up on top of Mount Moriah, he planned on killing him. He was as good as dead. But he knew that through that son, the promise was coming. If he killed that son, that he would rise from the dead. That God would raise him up, because this was the promised seed was going to come through him. We see all of this. This is the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and now the God of Jacob. Let's go on. Number 33. He divided his company into 5 different groups. 5 is the number of what? 5 is the number of what?
Grace.
Grace. All right, 5 different groups of gifts. Look at the word gift. What is the word grace? Charis. What does the word grace mean?
It means a lot of things. Beauty, but it means free.
It means gift, basically. Gift. It's grace, but it's gift. We're saved by a gift. By grace. All right? So he divided his company into 5 different groups. Gifts for Esau. Then he lined up his wives and their children, and he followed last. All right? With a space in between all of them. Number 34. How did Esau actually receive Jacob? How did he receive him? After all this happened, how did he receive Jacob?
He ran and embraced him.
He ran and kissed him.
Yeah.
Now who do you think prepared Esau? Was it Jacob's gifts? Or was it God? It was God. God dealt with him. Because God, remember the God that appeared to Jacob? We're going to go back here in this in just a minute. Remember the God that appeared to Jacob and told him he'd take care of him when he went into Padan Aram? Who was the God? Well, who was the name of God? What was his name? You remember? El Shaddai. El Shaddai, the all-nourishing one. And the all-powerful one. Okay? The all-nourishing and the all-powerful one. All right, so that God, the God of Jacob, prepared Esau's heart. You know, he can even deal with lost people, doesn't he? Did he deal with Nebuchadnezzar? How about Cyrus? Yeah, he dealt with them. Number 35. Now this is real good here. Number 35. Now, you need to get this down here. Give the names of the translations of the places where Jacob built altars. Genesis 28, 10 through 19. What happened in Genesis 28? Let's go there real quick. Genesis 28, 10 through 19. All right? What happened there? Are you brother there, Brother Mike?
Okay. And then Jacob departed from Beersheba and went toward Haran, and he came to a certain place and spent the night there, because the sun had set.
Okay.
And he took one of the stones of the place and put it under his head and lay down in that place.
That's what we call Jacob's pillow. Remember? Okay. Now just read on quickly.
And he had a dream, and behold, a ladder was set on the earth, with its top reaching to heaven, and behold, the angels of God were ascending and descending on it. And behold, the Lord stood above it and said, I am the Lord, the God of your father Abraham, and the God of Isaac. The land on which you lie, I will give it to you and to your descendants.
All right. Now, what's he doing here? What's God doing with, Brother Wally, what's he doing with Jacob? How did Jacob get the blessing?
Well,
By trickery.
yeah, well,
He
yeah.
tricked his brother. But now what's God telling Jacob?
Well, telling him that he's getting it the genuine way.
That now God is honoring him as the heir. You are the priest of your family, Jacob. I am the one. Now, how did he appear to him this time, Brother Rex? How did he do it?
Says he was standing at the top of the ladder.
Yeah, but he was in a dream.
Yeah, right.
He was in a dream. Now he's dreaming this time. This was anybody here ever had a dream? Huh? Weird one sometimes, huh? All right, you have dreams. But God appeared to him in a dream.
When I was in the kindergarten in Sunday school, they had little pictures, and I remember this picture of Jacob laying and an angel going up on a ladder, up and down. Does anybody remember any of those little pictures they used to give us way before they had even scripture press?
Yeah.
We used to make
Yeah.
one thing with our fingers called Jacob's ladder.
Yeah. Yeah.
I never
Jacob's
very
ladder.
well.
Well, here we have him, but he appeared to him in a dream. But this confirmation in the dream was to confirm that he was the heir. You are the man, not Esau. And I've told you this before, and I want to drive this home. When Jesus came to this earth in the person of the Messiah, who was on the throne of Israel? Esau's descendant. He wasn't supposed to be there, people. Israel had become corrupt. If Esau was on there, then all of Israel is null and void. How could you get Esau descendant as a king of Israel when Israel is Jacob? Now talk about irrational politicians. That's all they were. Just a bunch of politicians back when Jesus came to this earth. It was totally corrupt.
Old Herod was an Edomite, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's right. He was Esau's descendant.
Some say even Yasser Arafat was from that group.
Well, just think about it. The wrong bunch, though. The king of Israel is not Israel's descendant. How could you possibly fall for that? Would you have fallen for that, Brother Lee? You knew your genealogies a little bit. Do you think those Jews didn't know the genealogy? And Herod's on the throne?
They didn't care.
You know who cared? The devil.
Yeah. Of course he put them in there.
The devil put him there. The devil put him on the
They
throne.
not right because they...
And the devil tried to kill the real Messiah, didn't he?
They think God don't know his genealogy tables. That's pretty dumb.
All right. Number B. Shalem. All right. Shalem. Elohi. All right. Elohi, Israel. God, the God of Israel. Genesis 32 and verse 24. That's where we were just a little bit earlier. Genesis 32, verses 24 to 30. Brother Randall.
32, 24?
24 through 30.
Then Jacob was left alone,
Uh-huh.
and a man wrestled with him until daybreak. When he saw that he had not prevailed against him, he touched the socket of his thigh,
In other words, he crippled him.
so that the socket of Jacob's thigh was dislocated while he wrestled with him. Then he said, "Let me go, for dawn is breaking." But he said, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." So he said to him, "What is your name?" And he said, "Jacob." He said, "Your name shall no longer be Jacob, but Israel, for you have striven with God and with men, and have prevailed."
Okay, that's enough right there. There's where we are. Now we have God appearing to him, and he's wrestling him with Jacob physically. Now Jacob's going to go into the land. He's afraid of his big brother. His big brother's stronger than him, but he is still physically able to go out there and run. All right? But now God cripples him.
He needs a hip replacement.
Now he needs a hip replacement. All right? Now he's totally crippled, and guess who he has to depend upon now to save him? God. Now God's the one that can save us always. And now Bethel. Bethel. That's Genesis 46, 1 through 6. Now we're jumping way ahead. But these were the 3 times that God appeared to Jacob. Now, Jacob had been in the land. How long was he in the land? How long was Jacob in the land now?
At least 14 years.
Well,
Unless you're talking about how old he was.
no, how long was Jacob in the land when he finally, in Genesis 46? How long had he been in the land? Had he ever really taken possession of the heirship of his family? For 30 years he wandered around out there. 30 years now. 30 years he'd never gone back to Hebron. Hebron is where the blessings were. That's where his father was. Now, before he could actually take over as the heir of his family, he had to go back to Hebron. And he hadn't gone back to Hebron. All right? He had never gone back there. Now, Genesis 46, 1 through 6. Let's look at that. Some other wild stuff happens here.
What's your reference again?
Okay, Genesis 46. And then we're going to run back again and see some things that happened. Genesis 46 now. One through 6. Brother John, are you there? Genesis 46.
Yes, sir.
Uh-huh.
So Israel took his journey with all that he had, and came to Beersheba, and offered sacrifices to the God of his father Isaac. Then God spoke to Israel in the visions of the night, and said, Jacob, Jacob. And he said, Here am I. So he said, I am God, the God of your fathers. Do not fear to go down to Egypt, for I will make you a great nation there. I will go down with you to Egypt. I will also surely bring you up again, and Joseph will put his hand on your eyes. Then Jacob arose from Beersheba, and the sons of Israel carried their father Jacob, their little ones and their wives, in the carts which Pharaoh had sent to carry him. So they took their livestock and their goods, which they had acquired in the land of Canaan, and went to Egypt, Jacob and all his descendants with him.
All right. Now let's look at this for a while. Now this seems like it's wrong, doesn't it? What's wrong about this, Brother Walt?
We're going from the promised land to the world.
That's right. They're going the wrong direction, people. Where did God promise Jacob that the blessing was?
In a land that was blessed.
In the land of Canaan. Now God had set this aside way back here in Noah's time. Back here in Noah's time. God promised that the descendants of Canaan would be servants to Israel, to the descendants of Jacob. They would go into the land, they would settle the land, but they would be servants. Canaan. But God said that this would happen. This is prophecy, way back in Noah's time. How many generations was Noah from Adam? He was of what generation?
Before the flood, the last
13.
What? Huh?
13.
No.
10.
7.
10. He was the 10th generation. See, there's nothing wrong with your mind, brother.
That was a
Mine.
guess,
Not a thing wrong.
but
The 10th generation from Adam. Now, the 10th generation of Adam, God prophesied that this was going to happen. But there's some problems taking place here. All right? So Israel set out with all that he had and came to Beersheba and offered sacrifices to the God of father Isaac. And God spoke to Israel in visions of the night and said, Jacob, Jacob. And he said, Here I am. Now, what was his name here? Huh? Israel. But God's calling him Jacob. He's wanting to remind him who he was. All right, he reminded him who he was. Now, what we're going to find out later on were some fantastic stuff. Jacob, it says Jacob did this, and all of a sudden, and Israel did this. It changes the name. It'll say Jacob was doing this, and then all of a sudden, Israel did it. Every time it talks about the promise of God, it calls him, his name is Israel. Then he is the heir. Then he is the patriarch of his family. So he said, Jacob. Jacob. Now here we are. Jacob is going to leave his land. And Jacob is in indecision, I believe. All right? He's wondering, how in the world am I supposed to get this blessing over there in the wrong place? Is God really going to, am I really going to be the heir? Are my people really going to be a great nation? And he said, I am the God. I am God. All right? I am God. I'm going to see what that word is. All right, I am Elohim. I am Elohim. I am the creator. All right? And then I am Elohim. I am the God that belongs to Isaac and to Jacob and to Abraham. All right? I am the God that belongs to them. The God of your father. Do not be afraid to go down to Egypt. It's okay, Jacob. What had happened in the land? Tell me what happened in the land before this. There's been some problems in the land, haven't there?
Drought.
Dinah. The drought wasn't the problem. God sent the drought. Did you know that? God sent the drought. Why did God send the drought? Well, to fulfill prophecy, for one thing. But what had happened with Dinah? Dinah is the feminine name for Dan, isn't it? Dan and Dinah are the same name. Okay? Same name. One of them's feminine, one of them's masculine. What happened with Dinah?
Well, Canaanites wanted to intermarry with her, I think.
What happened though? Remember what happened?
Well,
her brothers took care of
The
they killed them all.
Shechem, right there at Shechem. All right. What happened there? The girl got to walking around out there. She got in the wrong place at the wrong time, and she was seduced by a Canaanite. Okay? I want you to see the double standard that these boys have. She was seduced by a Canaanite. All right? And the Canaanites realized that this is a very powerful man of God. Okay? This is the powerful man of God. Now, my sons have really goofed up here. My son has, so I'm going to go over there and I'm going to apologize to Jacob. And I'm going to make amends to whatever has to be here. So they come over there and he said, well, my son and your daughter got together. And we're sorry about it, because I know that we've insulted you by doing this. And the boys come up, and here's Jacob, and he said, no, this can't be like this. He said, well, what will it cost? I want to honor you. I want to give you a great gift for your daughter. What kind of dowry do we owe you for this girl? Because now she's no longer a virgin. Okay? But my son wants her for his wife. What can we do? And they said, it can't be. You cannot, no heathen, no uncircumcised heathen can be married to a Jew. Okay? Not going to happen. So what they do?
And they required them to be circumcised.
They signed the covenant of God. Every one of the males. All of that whole tribe of them. Every male was circumcised, and that was a sign of the covenant. In the Old Testament, they became Jews, basically. They were circumcised. Now, a few days later, after they were real sore from the circumcision,
The boys attacked them
what happened?
all. They attacked them all.
Slaughtered.
The boys
killed
went and
them
killed
all.
them.
Huh?
The boys went and killed them.
Which boys? Were the main ones?
It was
Reuben.
Judah.
Judah and Levi. Judah and Levi.
Sons of Leah.
Judah and Levi. They went out and they killed every man. They slaughtered all the children like heathens. And these people had signed the covenant of God. This is bad stuff, people. The whole land, Jacob says, I stunk. And my family stunk in the whole land. The whole land. We had a bad name. We had dirty faces in the whole land. Because they had signed the covenant of God and had submitted to God's leadership. And my sons killed them all. Murdered them. They killed their children and they killed the women and all. Remember what Jacob was worried about when he came in the land with Esau? That Esau had become a what? A heathen, and that he would kill all of his wives and his children. But what did his sons do? They killed and did and acted exactly like heathens. Terrible. And that wasn't all. What did Judah do? Later. What did Judah do?
You mean his...
Well, that was Reuben.
no, he...
Reuben, his other son, went and laid with one of Jacob's wives, Bilhah. He committed adultery and incest, if you want to, whatever you want to call it. Here we have a real bad problem. And what else did Judah do?
Well, he had that, he was out in the sheep camp. That's the one you're talking about?
Judah, he took him 2 Canaanite wives. Here he was going to kill this Canaanite that was going to legitimately marry his sister. He killed all of them, murdered them like heathens. Now he goes out and marries him a couple of Canaanite women. Could God leave them in that land? Could God leave them in that land? What would have happened?
They got in...
The gene pool was all messed up, wasn't it? What happened to Judah's sons?
They were all killed.
They died. They died. The boys died. Now God's got to move them out so he can protect them. So when they go down into Egypt now, 30 years Jacob had not claimed the promise. For 30 years. He had not gone in and claimed the promise. So now he's going to go back and claim the promise right here. When he goes back, and that's when God reveals himself to him. Now, the last time God reveals himself to Jacob is when he tells him, Jacob, this is part of my unpreventable progress. This is part of keeping your sons separate from the heathens. Now, how did the Egyptians look upon the Jews?
Lousy shepherds.
They were shepherds.
The great unwashed.
They're what?
The great unwashed.
Yeah, the great unwashed. These were the heathens. No Egyptian wanted to have anything to do with the Jews. So when they went down there, now we have one man that's down there already. Who's he? Joseph. All right, Joseph's down there already. He's got him an Egyptian wife. But just think about it now. Joseph's down there already. He's down in Egypt. He's got him an Egyptian wife. And guess who was the highest clan in the Egyptian, besides the Pharaoh, who was the highest order of Egyptians?
Priest.
Who?
Priest, wasn't
The priest, but not just any priest.
he? No, but
Who was the highest order of the priest in Egypt?
he became
The servants of Ra. Who was Ra?
sun god.
The sun god. All right? And guess who he married?
He married
He married the high priest's daughter.
Yeah. That gets interesting.
This is something else. He marries the high priest's daughter. Just think about this now.
And his brother.
He Now he marries into the royalty of Egypt. So Joseph is part of the royalty. But we're going to find out that's the only one that gets involved with these Egyptians was Joseph. Now we have all these boys, and we get to go and look at the dying prophecy of Jacob here in just a few more lessons. All right? In a few more lessons. All right. Number 36. What problem did Jacob have with his sons in Canaan? Simeon and Levi destroyed the Shechemites who had mingled their people with the Israelites in marriage. And then Judah goes back and marries a Canaanite. And God has to kill those children. All right? Verse number 37 in your syllabus. Before going to Bethel, what did Jacob tell his household? Remember, that's the old story. Many put away your strange gods. They had carried them things all these years. The strange gods, where'd they get them? Where'd the strange gods come from here? He'd been there for 30 years now.
Egypt.
Laban's strange gods.
Yeah.
Why did God had to get Abraham out of the Fertile Crescent, out of Mesopotamia?
Get him away from the gods.
Get him away from their gods, put him into the land, and tell him not to intermingle with that blood. And here we have all kinds of problems. God, the devil, is around every corner. Did you know that?
He's a never false god.
Yeah. He's around every corner. Is he trying to thwart the promises of God? Every time you turn, you see this. Just like Esau. I mean, Esau's descendant being on the throne of Israel. Boy, I tell you, that's beyond me. I don't know how in the world they ever put up with that. Hebron was where the promises could be attained. Finally, Jacob went there, and then they had trouble, didn't they? Even there, when he took over his father, Isaac's heirship. Well, let's turn over to the next page. Chapter number 13. Look at this. Chapter number, what page are you on now?
39.
39. All right. 39. Now, you need to write down these notes. It's good for you. Or you can write them in your Bible, either one. Now, here we are. We're going to see the covenant renewed in Jacob again. And then we're going to see some fantastic things. God had to get Jacob out of Canaan. They were going to go down into Egypt, and what was going to happen to Jacob's descendants in Egypt? They would become a nation there. Just think about it. Where has God chosen to evangelize mankind? Not after you die, but while you're living in the world, right now. Why has God left you here to be His evangelist? In the world, we've become a mighty people for God in His churches. All right? Let's look at this. In renewing His covenant in Jacob, God changed Jacob's name to Israel. That's which means soldier or man of God. And then verse number 2. What was the last son born to Jacob from Rachel? Benjamin. Benjamin. What does Benjamin mean?
Son or a prince or something.
What did his mother call him? Ben-Ammi. All right, what's Ben-Ammi mean?
Son.
Son of.
Huh? Son of my sorrow, son of my distress, son of my misery. She was dying when he was born. Okay? Son of my misery. And then his father changed his name to what? Benjamin. Now what does Benjamin mean?
Son of my right hand.
Son of my right hand, and also son of what? Son of my strength, what it means right hand, but son of my consolation also. He consoled him. God consoled Jacob because of the death of Rachel in having this boy, Benjamin.
How come Benjamites were left-handed?
Son of the right hand, it's just the opposite, brother. Whatever thing is. All right? Son of Benjamites. Maybe they like me. Left-handed. Benjamin was the last son born to Jacob, was born by who? Rachel.
Rachel.
Is who you write in there. His favorite wife. When he was born, Rachel died. And Jacob named his son Benjamin, which means son of consolation, or son of the right hand, or son of strength. Okay? Number 3. Where was Rachel buried? Near Bethlehem. All right? On the son of Ephrath, on the road of Ephrath, which is Bethlehem. Now guess where Jesus was born? Where was Jesus born? Bethlehem. What is Bethlehem? What does it mean? What does Bethlehem mean? Beth means house.
House of bread.
House of bread. All right? Where did Ruth and Boaz get together? Bethlehem. And where was David's city of his fathers? Bethlehem. Is Jesus a descendant of David?
Yes.
All right, let's get it all together. This stuff is happening right in the right places all the right time. Okay. Now, number 4. Jacob came to his father Isaac in the city of Mamre, which is also called what? What? Hebron. All right. Before he died. Isaac died at the age of how much?
180?
180 years. And was buried by Esau and Jacob. Esau and Jacob got together again and buried him. But who was the prince now? Who took over the heirship when he went back? Jacob did. All right. Jacob's favorite sons were whom? Joseph and Benjamin. Joseph and Benjamin. Psalm 22, Isaiah 53, if you'll look at them, you will also see the life of Joseph. Joseph was a type of Christ. He was a Christ of the rejected heir. All right? He was a type of the rejected heir. And he went into Egypt and died, as far as Jacob was known. But what happened when the boys went down there? They found out there was no death, there was a resurrection. Just think about all the things about Joseph. Jacob's favorite sons were Joseph and Benjamin, sons of Rachel. Because of this, they were not liked by their brothers. List 2 other things which caused Joseph's brothers to dislike him. Number A. What was it?
It was a dreamer.
He had visions.
Well, he had a coat, a long sleeve coat. One thing that his father gave to him, which meant what? What did that coat mean? He was the heir. Jacob had picked Joseph out to be the heir. Okay? And he gave him the coat of many colors, the fancy coat. Now, number 1, why did the boys not like him, and even his daddy got mad?
Does he talk about those dreams and how he could be over them?
All right. We have the coat of many colors down there. He was going to be the heir. And number 2, Joseph had dreams which God told him that he would be exalted above his brothers and even his mother and father. Now, in the New Testament time, we jump over here in the New Testament time, the Catholic Church has made Mary a god, the mother of God. So she must be a god, huh? The mother of God. But in all reality, now, if Joseph was really a type of Christ, now his mother had died, but his stepmothers, did they bow down to Joseph? It said that his mother and father and all the brothers would bow down to him. All right? All of them would bow down to him. That's what the dream was about. All right? Number 6. What page is number 6 on yours?
39.
39? Okay, mine's on 43. Well, I'm way ahead of you guys. Describe the events that led Joseph being carried into Egypt in slavery. Now we have to go back and recap a lot of things. Jacob sent him out on a tour of duty, Well, he was supposed to check on his brothers, and they were tending the flocks, and they saw him coming and plotted to destroy him. Okay? And after casting him in a cesspool, that's what that was a cesspool, an outhouse. Did you know that they did that to Jeremiah also? They put him in a cesspool. They put him in a cesspool. That's what it was a cesspool. It was a dry one. It had dried up, but guess what was down there?
That old smell might not
The smell didn't dry up. They threw the crown prince, they threw him in a cesspool. All right? And then sold him as what? Not the heir, but as a slave. Now let's just think about this. What do you think the boys thought about the promise of the tribes of Israel? What did the boy... Now just think about it. This boy was one of the sons of Israel, of Jacob. Now, the promises of God stated that these sons would become a mighty nation. Now that's written in stone, people, by God. Now here we have the other brothers out there that are jealous because they don't like things the way things are going. So what did they do?
Cut up his coat, put blood.
They tried to destroy the promise of God because of their greed. Just think about that for a while. Because of their greed, they wanted to make null effect the promise of God, because this boy was very important.
That remind you of Esau and what he thought of his?
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah. Here we have the story of Esau and Jacob again, except we see it in these boys here. Now they must not have thought much about the promises of God. If they were going to kill or sell into slavery one of the princes and the main prince. But just remember this also. I mean, you can do anything you want to. You know who's going to be elected president of the United States the next time?
Don't tell me.
Whoever God wants.
Yeah.
Surprise me.
Whoever God wants. And I don't care who it is, whether we like it or not, the one supposed to be there is going to be there. Whether we like it or not. Period. We deal with politics. God deals with providence and prophecy. Forget it. I don't care what's going on down here. What's going to happen is what's going to happen. That's the way it's going to be.
Why won't?
Don't make any difference in all reality.
Maybe we get what we deserve.
Lord.
I'm sure that we won't get what we deserve.
Not quite.
Because Jesus Christ died for us.
Okay.
I'm sure we won't get what we deserve. God, now he sells him to some of Esau's shirt-tail relation to be a slave.
Ishmaelite.
Yeah. The non-promised sons. Ishmael and Esau's bunch all mingled up together, and that's what we have for Arabs. Now he sold him to a bunch of Arabs that were going to make money on him. And they sold him cheap so they could make money. They wanted to get rid of him. What was Jacob told regarding the fate of Joseph? Some animal killed him because we found his coat of many colors. You know that daddy, that coat that you gave him that signified him as the heir, the heir is gone. He got chewed up, and here's what's left of the coat. This is what we think of your heir. That's what they told her daddy. Number 8. What was God's promise in sending Joseph into Egypt? To prepare the place where God would later move Israel and his children. Remember, Judah had intermingled, and God had to cut them off. And God had to get them out of Canaan so he could bless them later. He's going to bring them back in the land. All right? And then we're going to look at the promises that God made through Jacob to his children. Number 9. Describe Joseph's life upon his arrival in Egypt. He was sold to Potiphar, the captain of the guard of the death house, by the way. Think about that. The guard of the death house, the place of execution. He was sent to the death house. Think about Jesus. He was born into a world where everybody died. Joseph found grace in the sight of, and he made Joseph overseer over all of his house, over all the land. Number 10, for what reason was Joseph put into prison? He got put in, he's not only he wasn't a slave in prison now,
The wife
in the
of
death
king
house.
said that he tried to do something for you.
Potiphar's wife. Potiphar's wife. What kind of her character did she have, Brother Wally?
Yeah, she wanted that. She wanted to play with the slave.
Yep, she wanted to play with the slave, and the slave didn't cooperate.
Wasn't she Joseph's mother-in-law?
Later on, she would be related
Yeah.
to them. Okay? He would become related to her later on. Potiphar's wife said Joseph had made immoral advances toward her, and that he had fled, and she screamed, and she grabbed his coat. But in number 11 now, and this is the end of it for today, even in prison, God was with Joseph. And he soon gave favor in a hard place with the prison guard, and was made a guard. While in prison, Joseph became known as the interpreter of dreams. All right, the interpreter of dreams. Now there's where we start off next week. We're going to go right there. I hope you've enjoyed this lesson today. There's some gigantic stuff, and I mean we've got some wonderful things to see yet that are going to absolutely flabbergast you of the promises and the prophecies and what takes place here in Egypt. And that just gives us an idea, even though we live here in this ungodly land, in this ungodly world, which Egypt is a type of, we can do and we can become blessings to people. We can. We can do our job. We can go out and we can do something eternal this week. Brother David, where are you?
I can fill most of these out.
Okay, on our prayer list today, me and Bonnie would like us to pray for Donnie String and Be Smart and Diane's mom. They all have big medical problems.